These days, it's so cold that it makes getting the mail feel like an adventure. And that's why I wanted to make today my Homestyle chicken noodle soup. Usually I like to make a huge pot of it, but today I'm gonna teach you how to make just enough for two. It's the perfect thing for this time of year. So come on, grab a pot and I'll show you how to make this. I decided to call this Homestyle chicken noodle soup because it's gonna look and taste like it's made from scratch, but it's much easier than that. And all you're gonna need for that is bone-in chicken breast, vegetable oil, salt, pepper, garlic, leek, carrot, celery, flour, chicken broth, rotini pasta, parsley, and a bay leaf. I have 2 cloves of minced garlic, and what I have here is half a leek. I just chopped off the bottom, cut off the green parts, sliced it halfway through, and then I just gave it a rinse through all the layers, like you're going through the leaves of a book, so that it's all clean, because leeks do carry a little dirt. Now I'm just gonna thinly slice this. Now we have our aromatics, which is 1 carrot, and the smaller parts I'm probably just gonna leave in these smaller circles, and then when I get to this part I'll probably cut it into half moons. And then 1 stalk of celery. Again, skinnier parts I just slice as is, but when you get to the thicker parts I do want to give it more of a dice, so I'm gonna split them in half. These are the only vegetables I'm gonna add in my soup today, but sometimes I'm feeling more healthy and I'll add a whole bunch more, like kale or spinach or peas. But I guess I'm going for more like grandmother style soup, like traditional, old school. Just gonna chop up about a tablespoon of minced parsley. Make room, guys. Okay, so all my chopping is done, so let's head over to the stove. We're gonna do a few things to make this soup taste a little bit more homemade and special. And one of the things we're gonna do is cooking off a bone-in chicken breast with the skin on. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna render the fat out of the skin and cook all your aromatics in there. So I have an 8 to 12 ounce bone-in split chicken breast. And in this pot, I just have 2 teaspoons of vegetable oil or canola oil, screaming hot, so that you can sear the skin for about 6 minutes. When you hear that sizzle, you're in good shape. So just give it a zhuzh and then let it be for about 5 to 6 minutes or until the skin renders out fat and it turns golden and crispy. So it's been 6 minutes. I pulled the chicken out, and if you notice, it's still raw on the underside. I didn't cook it at all on the underside, but the fat got rendered out of this nicely crispy skin. So I added all my vegetables except for the garlic and the parsley. Then add the garlic a little bit later. So I'm gonna sprinkle with some salt to let it sweat, maybe some pepper too. And now you're just gonna, oh my gosh, I can't even talk, it smells so good. I was about to talk, but then it just wafted into my nose and it smelled amazing. That's the power of leeks. You're just gonna let this go for about 5 minutes until everything is nicely softened. Everything's nice and soft, so we're gonna add in your garlic and let that go for about 30 seconds. The key is you don't want your garlic to burn. That's why you add it in a little bit later when everything else is softened. And then we're gonna add in 1 tablespoon of flour. And this might seem kind of interesting or weird, but this is gonna thicken up your soup just a tad. Because you know when you cook soups from scratch, like from a bone, there's that kind of cloudy bone look to the soup, and that's what we're going for. Now you're just gonna wanna cook out your flour for about a minute. but you don't want it to have a floury taste. So make sure you get that nicely cooked out. Now I'm going to switch to a whisk, and I have 3 cups of chicken broth. I'm not using reduced sodium, but you can if you want to control the salt. The flour and the chicken bits on the bottom, you're just going to try to scrape that up. I don't really have much stuck there, so I think I can just do that. And we're going to add a dry bay leaf. And I mentioned this in our beef stew with buttered noodles episode, but anytime you want something to have like a slow cooked, home cooked taste, a bay leaf will do the trick. So you want to make sure you use dried, and we're going to add back our chicken. And we're just going to put this in flesh side down, so the bone side down, where it wasn't cooked at all, and any kind of juices that accumulated. Bring this up to a high rolling simmer. Cover it, reduce to a low simmer, and we're going to try to cook this chicken all the way through for about 20 to 22 minutes. Now, I mean, you can totally add the noodles at the end right into the broth, but I found that when I do that, it tends to get a little bit too thick for me, and if you don't want to eat all the soup in one sitting, then the noodles will bloat in the soup, and then it'll absorb all of it. You won't have any broth left. So instead of worrying about all that, I just prefer and almost recommend boiling your noodles on the side. Just a couple more things and we're completely done. As you can see, the broth is nice and cloudy and thick, and all we're gonna do is fish out that pesky bay leaf because it's done its duty. And I shredded up the chicken and left the skin and the bones behind, so you're not gonna add the skin. Let that chicken just warm up. You don't want it to really cook more. It's done, it's completely cooked through. Add in your chopped parsley, and I held back just a little bit so that I can garnish the bowls at the end because I just think it looks really pretty. I'm gonna give it a taste for seasoning, and this is the only time I've actually tasted it. See if I need to adjust with anything. Salt and pepper. Wow, I'm lucky. Doesn't need anything and it tastes amazing. So I'm just gonna ladle the noodles into the bowl, pour this hot broth on top, and enjoy. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited to eat this. It smells delicious.
The smell is like so incredible.
And it's funny because it hasn't even been cooking for that long. It's literally been cooking for as long as it took to cook the chicken. So it's like 20 minutes. But look at it. I mean, it just looks so cloudy and thick and luxurious and homemade.
Oh, so good. It's like totally like homemade. Been cooking for like hours, kind of tasting. It's so good.
Very old-fashioned, classic, like what you expect and what you crave when you're sick, under the weather, or when it's just cold out. And all you need is some bread for dunking. Good, right? Literally, I understand why they say chicken soup for the soul. For substitutions, personally, I used rotini pasta because I just liked the way it looked. But if you want to really go old-fashioned, then I would suggest using egg noodles, like the wide egg noodles, the kind that I used in my beef stew with buttered noodles episode. We'll leave a link for you. And instead of doing noodles in general, you can also use cheese tortellini. And if you want a little twist on the broth, then I would suggest even adding a can of diced tomatoes as well as a rind of a fresh Parmesan wedge. And that you just cook that Parmesan wedge in there and it turns a little bit creamy. So it'll be kind of like a creamy, cheesy tomato chicken soup. Doesn't that sound amazing? Well, I hope you enjoyed spending time with me today. Be sure to check out our behind the scenes video of the making of this episode. We'll leave a link for you. So thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed watching this, then remember to push like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. And it's because of comments that I come up with these ideas. I was even thinking that chicken noodle soup was just so plain and ordinary, but then I received a comment asking and requesting for it, so here it goes. So anyways, leave a comment down below, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye!
It makes you want to just curl up on the couch and watch a movie.
Why not? It's like an old grandmother soup.
I guess that's a good compliment.